Welcome in everybody to the TK Pod. My name is Tyler Kluver. I was once a Division I football player. I am now a podcaster, fitness coach, and CrossFit athlete, doing all of that as a husband and father of two. This show is an audio journal, a spot for me to vent or ramble about thoughts I have relating to fitness and health, my personal competitive aspirations, business, entrepreneurship, and more. I hope that each show can provide one small bit of value for you, the listener. Regardless, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. Oh, baby. What an intro. How that thing is bumping, man. I'm over here bouncing the shoulders around. We got the intro back on the soundboard, which means the YouTube people can hear it. The people are going to hear it regardless, for those that are listening to the audio version. And I suppose there is a small editing technicality that we may run into with me starting to talk during the intro music and then trying to sync that intro music up on the back end. Nonetheless, it's a banger. Just free music off of wherever, and you can make a sick intro. Welcome to the TK Pod, the week of July 7th, 2025, year of the Lord. And it is currently the 9th, Wednesday. And we have a couple topics to go into today. Very, very brief. I don't know if I'm going to. You know what? I'm making the executive decision right now that we're not going to talk about any CrossFit, any fitness, any disc golf. We might throw in some disc golf because it's 2 minutes worth of conversation at the end. We'll do that at the end. But no CrossFit, no fitness today. Because that's normally what we talk about. And we've been putting off this specific topic that we're going to go over for several weeks now. Back on and you don't get many of these on the TK Pod, even though on that intro I do say we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and business ideas and all that kind of stuff. Most of it ends up being just the selfish, hey, how's my training going? What competitions am I doing? What new lifts am I hitting? All these different stuff within the exercise, fitness, health realm. Every once in a while, you'll get like hey, here's why you should drink water podcast. Here's why protein's important. Especially in the early days, I was doing a lot more of the feature episodes, I guess, or maybe focus episodes where there was very specific topics. And now more than often, it's just a personal current events pod, right? For those that are around, you know that. Today, and one of those current events that's going on in my life we're going to talk about is the beginning of what I would call the legitimate third business venture. I guess maybe there is more technically than that within my portfolio of income making opportunities in my adult life, but it's what I'm considering the third legitimate business that I will have a hand in starting. The first two, of which this podcast is the extension of one of them, are sole ventures. That's not true. What the fuck am I talking about? The first two are the whatever you want to call it. I guess now it's the walk on. We got to talk about walk on fitness today too. The walk on fitness, which used to be TKG training, which originally and technically under the LLC name is Tyler Kluver Fitness. So basically, my personal training business. And then the other is the forefront of what I do as a professional, and that is the podcast with the Wash Up Walk-Ons, the brand, clothing, podcasts, other content based around Iowa football. So You could say I have a training business, I have a media well, I don't even know. When people ask now, when you're an adult, like, people ask, or you sometimes on forums, you have to put down, like, "Hey, what's your occupation?" I don't know what to put. I just put, "I own a media company." I suppose that's true. Podcaster? That sounds weak. Sounds a little bit out there. Technically true, though. Um, so training company, media company, and as you would guess, the third of those businesses slotted right in there, lawn care business, right? The logical next step of the type of business that I should open up. Get a nice thick sip of that coffee. Lawn care. Why lawn care? Why now? With who? Doing what? What's my involvement? What's the goals? And then some details about how we've started this thing. All of those details, we'll try and hash out here. So to preface this, I guess the easiest way is that my grandfather, the legend, Gerald Kluver, Jerry, as he's known, has been in the lawn and garden industry here in central Iowa for the better part of 60 years, 50, definitely 50 years, somewhere between 50 and 60, I believe. He knows what the fuck he's doing when it comes to specifically gardening, plants, flowers, all that kind of stuff. Not so much on the like lawn care side, I would say, but it meshes together when clients or people out there want a nice landscape put in, and they want a certain amount of plants or flowers in that landscape, or they have trees that they need dealt with, all these different kinds of things. So he's a guru. He literally has been dubbed the garden guru. By who? I don't know, but that's literally how he would be marketed. I mean, he's been on TV for years. He used to have a garden show. Um, I had sort of a light bulb moment actually go off in my brain a couple years ago when I don't know if it was a conversation between me and my mom or what. We were kind of whoever I was discussing this with was like, "Did you ever think you'd be in podcasting? Where did this podcast on the microphone personality come from for you?" And I was like, "Man, I never dreamed of this. I never thought of it." And then they brought up my grandpa, and I thought, "Wow, this quite literally is the modern day um, execution of basically what he's done, just in a different industry." He literally was a I mean, for lack of a better word, he was and has been a influencer in the lawn and garden industry for the last 30 or 40 years. A expert slash public personality in that industry. Capped off with media. And of course, it was TV shows and radio shows through the 90s and 2000s and 2010s. But obviously, now we've gotten to a space in media where podcasting and social media content is a little bit bigger. Obviously, he doesn't do any of that. But I am just the sports version of what my grandpa's doing. So he kind of laid the foundation there. All that to say, he knows what the fuck he's doing. He's been in this industry for a long, long time. Because of that, my father and my uncles, one specifically, in the summers, because they were both teachers and they had a portion of May, June, July off, they would use that time to go and do landscaping jobs that my grandpa would bring in. So obviously through years and years of experience and people coming to him for knowledge and questions and all this stuff about the trees, the flowers, the grass, all this different stuff. Then they naturally are like, well, Is there any way that, like, you could do my landscaping? You could do my you could come do my house." And then the labor of that operation was my father and my uncle. And so those 2 have been doing, or for a long time were doing, I don't know, for maybe 15 or 20 years, um, basically their own landscaping company without calling it anything. They were just working under the umbrella of people who would come to Jerry Kluber. So this is in the blood. This is in the blood. And then by proxy, we're not experts by any means on the landscaping side of things, on the flowers, knowing all the different, strand, like, species and all that stuff. But generally, more than your average Joe, because we've been around it, we would go and help my father on certain jobs, yada yada. My brothers and I all know a thing or two about landscaping and doing flower beds and setting up edging and mulching and rock. And my father and they never really did mowing yards, but mowing is a huge one, right? That's an easy, like, money maker, yada yada. So it's something that we have a general, like, sort of baseline knowledge about. My brothers and I, who the 3 of us are the ones who are starting this company. And it's just called Clover Lawn and Landscape. Very simple. And really the focus in the beginning for us is the mowing, because if you just grab a bunch of mowing clients, that's just some pretty simple recurring revenue. It's the most easy job in lawn and landscape, is just cutting the grass. And that kind of gets us off the ground as far as a cash flow standpoint, to be able to eventually expand to landscaping jobs or some more intensive stuff, spraying, weed control, different things that are a little bit more nuanced. Um, there's Eli. Hopefully, we don't have any more of those. Sorry, tired baby. Still in week 6 of baby's life. Still not perfectly sleeping, so we're tired around here. Anyway, so about, oh god, when was it? I think my brother's birthday, my middle one, Austin, is April 20th. Either the week after that or the week after that, somewhere around there, end of April, early May. They came out to the house for a party, like celebrate Austin's birthday, hang out, see Kinley, whatever. And on their way in, I suppose the other preface to this too is my youngest brother Zach, who is sort of the main person of this lawn care venture. He recently, probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, um, 4 months ago, I don't know, somewhere earlier this spring, he was laid off from his job. He was working at the NAIA, which is like the NCAA for whatever JUCOs or whatever the NAIA schools are. Basically, his job was to, like, intake a bunch of forms and eligibility requirements for student athletes who are trying to make sure that they had all their ducks in a row as they entered college athletics to those schools. Um, and he was just making sure that they were eligible and they had all the right classes and all the right information in on their profiles and all that stuff. They had to cut down a bunch and he got laid off. Uh, and so he has been looking for something to do. And they roll into the neighborhood that weekend to come for the party. And my neighborhood specifically, there's a couple houses on the way to our house that are a little bit less taken care of, a little bit less managed by the owners, very long grass, etc. And they walk in and they're like, dude, why don't I just start mowing yards? Like, and it's something that probably everybody on their mom has said before, like, oh, I could just start mowing. I'll just mow yards. And the reality is like if you're and that's the best part about this business is if you're willing to just go do the work, and then, there's a little bit of the client acquisition as well. You got to find people who are willing to pay you to mow them. But after that, it's literally just spending the time and doing the labor. The work isn't high skill entry, right? And I looked at him, and it was the 3 of us all talking, and we're like, "Yeah, why don't you? Like, start your own mowing business." Just start doing that. Like take the mower between myself and my father. Like we already have 3 or 4 push mowers to our name. You can use one of them. Go start mowing people's yards. Go knock on doors, get a few yards, and build from there. Like who knows? You could start something. Eventually, you could have a route of however many yards you could possibly do. Eventually, upgrade to a rider. Cut. All the ideas, the grand ideas that immediately start coming when you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start my own thing. And then it kind of became more than that. It was like, no, legitimately, like, why don't you do that? And then they went home that day and were like, all right, well, what would this look like? And then quite literally what we did, or at least what I did, was baseline research on mowing businesses, equipment, startup, any other stuff that you need to take into account, how much to charge, um, all these little basic things, as well as I just chat GPT'd. I legitimately AI'd a business plan for, hey, I want to start my own lawn care company. I'm going to be the sole operator. How many yards? What do I need to charge? How many weeks a year? What mower should I use? What other tools should I have? How can I upsell people on a few other simple services? Um, Draw me out a business plan that in 1 to 2 to 3 years can revenue 50K, 100K, and you would be amazed at what AI can spit out for a business plan, and the stepping up levels of um, gradual growth. You need to have this many clients at this rate. Um, I mean, it's amazing what AI can do. And it was a really good plan, and it was actionable, and there were steps to take, and it was simple enough, right? And the initially the large motivation to do this was to help our brother get off the ground here, as he's been doing odd jobs here and there with some family friends and some other stuff, and he's got opportunities. He has a college degree. He could go get a job, but him, similar to just about every other person in this generation, is like, well, what if I can just make my own money? What if I can just be my own boss, run my own company, my own brand? I have a unique situation where I already do that in 2 different forms, and because of the way that I've set up sort of my professional life, I have a very flexible schedule, extra time to put into it, and I have the sort of the business knowledge, the entrepreneurship knowledge to help Zach do this. So I was like, dude, I'm in. I'll help. I'll be part of the business. And naturally, the third brother, Austin, um, is pretty meticulous and kind of into lawn care as well. It's a nerdy thing that all of us have, which is good to start the business with. And he was like, yeah, I'll be a part of it too. Like I'll help do yards if we get enough yards to where it's like becoming too much. Eventually, like if we could turn this into a full-time thing, like I will quit my job and go full-time with this. So we're like, fuck it. Clover Lawn and Landscape was born. And it's a thing where we're going to gradually build this off the ground. And even 2 months in right now, I think on the 12th. Oh, excuse me. You're hearing this on the 9th. So 10, 11, 12. So Saturday will be exactly 2 months since we officially were like, okay, I'm going to tweet out that we're going to start a lawn care business, and we'll see if anybody will be like, yeah, you can mow my yard. So we're 2 months in. We have 5 solid clients already that are recurring revenue, bringing in close to $400 a week. Um, that's not a lot of money, but 400 a week, that's 1600 a month. Um, a little bit more if you count, the extra few days there. So call it 1700 a month. And if you take 1700 by a full year, which is not how it works in Iowa because there's only really 6 or 7 months of lawn care season with the cold weather in Iowa. But if you were to figure out ways to make that same revenue across all 12 months, that's about 20 grand projected revenue for the business in a couple months of effort. And we've put in a lot of effort, and there was a period of time where for 2 or 3 weeks, all I did was research mowers all the way from push to the most expensive fucking commercial mowers you could find, what brands, what size deck, what engine, uh, it rider, stand on, push, like, you name it. What do we need for this? What's the best for our situation? Yada, yada, yada. Buying marketing stuff like door hangers and, um, business cards, and putting a little bit of marketing into, a Facebook page that we created, and created a logo, and signed up for Next, like, all these different things that pretty much the internet, AI, um, and general knowledge of, like, hey, this is how you should start a business. Pretty much doing all the checking all the boxes to start this thing and get it up off the ground. Um, to the point where I legitimately consider it the third business. Like, there is enough of investment, time and money wise into this thing already 2 months in, where this is something I'm in, and it's something that I actually now feel obligated to spend time on and effort on, because we've bit off that much. Um, I have that much of an iron in the fire, so to speak. So yeah, 3 businesses. Now, my role in this right now, this is what also is kind of helped making it work is, one, you're saying to yourself $20,000 in revenue, and that's if you could, you're actually at like $10,000 worth of revenue because you're only able to do it half the year. So what are you going to do in the winter months? Plenty of things to answer that question. Maybe we'll talk about in the future. That's not really, 10 grand in revenue. You haven't even talked about your expenses yet, of which we've already spent more than 10 grand on the business. Um, yeah, that's gonna be hard to live on, right? And so the nice thing here is we have a few things of the life infrastructure in place for us to sort of slowly build this thing. And that's important because when starting a business or taking a new job or whatever, a lot of people, one of the factors is like, I need cash flow to live on right now. And everybody, every adult has some sort of expenses in their life. Um, I already have, again, a job, 2 jobs, a career, whatever ventures that I'm doing that are supporting me, and as does my middle brother, Austin. We both have full-time incomes that we're already good on. Zach has a little bit saved up from the job he was let go from, but then he also lives with my brother. So he's paying 0 in rent, very little in food. He doesn't really go out or drink or have hobbies that are expensive, so he can live really, really cheap. Um, and the amount of money that he's bringing in this summer, even with the payments on some of the equipment that we've already bought, he can live already on the 5 yards that we're doing. So it's sustainable, and um, that allows us to kind of breathe and not have to like scramble or have some end date in mind where we need this many yards, we need this much revenue by this date, or else we have to quit and go find something else. We can actually spend a year, 2 years, hopefully 3 years building this thing up to where it's like financially viable as a legitimate option. Um, so yeah, that's sort of how this thing started and where it's at right now. Um, we decided to, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. So almost immediately, we bought a brand new Ego push mower. It's like one of the best electric battery powered mowers there is. Um, so kind of went electric with that route. That's a whole nother conversation. Gas or electric. With the push, we decided to go electric. That way, we don't have to mess with filling up for gas, paying for gas, all that stuff. Um, so that was an investment. We ran on that for 5 or 6 weeks. Got another couple yards. I would say 3 of the yards that we have right now are very, very hard to push. I mean, it's like a 2 to 3 hour process for 1 yard just to push these yards. Um, so we realized that to not only be more official, be more efficient, and look better, we probably just need to invest in a legitimate riding mower. An an expensive cost for a brand new business that doesn't have hardly any business, but getting it could get you more business just by having it. It also allows us when we're taking quotes or taking inquiries for quotes to be like, yeah, we can come do an acre or more because we have a rider that can zip around and it's got a 42-inch deck on it and it won't take us forever. So we can accept your yard if you want us to do it. Um, so we've got a rider, we've got a push, we bought a string trimmer, a blower, an edger, all the basic stuff to make a yard look good. We bought a trailer. My dad already has an old truck that we're using to pull it. So equipment wise, it's a legitimate operation. Um, we're obviously in the red right now, but every week we bring in another 400 bones that chips away at the money we've put into it. That's the nice thing about these service-based businesses is if you just get a couple clients that are recurring, you can kind of immediately map out how soon you can pay off your investment. So that's really not a big deal at all. The roles in the business look like, Zach is the labor. I'm sort of the marketing, business strategy, um, all around like CEO type of the business. And then Austin helps with kind of the in between stuff. He does labor when he has time. He also helps on the business side of things. He kind of manages the books, the software that we're using to, have clients. Um, uh, Eventually, he'll hopefully this thing grows and we get enough yards where we can start maybe even hiring some part-time employees. He'll manage like training and um, you know staffing and stuff like that. So we have three individual roles that are split up really well, and overall, the biggest thing is we have the motivation to create our own family-owned business that can sustain us. You know, the goal, the long-term vision would be, hey, if we could grow this lawn care business into something that is fully sustainable for the three of us someday, and this is what all three of us do full time, that would be the dream. So it's where we're at. Um, Obviously, I can't spend 40 hours a week on it, or even 20 hours a week on it because I have two other businesses as well. So I've already ran really, really long here, but maybe another podcast is, sort of me talking about how I manage my time between those three businesses these last couple months, um, especially with having a newborn. But there's a lot that goes into it. I'm very excited about the possibilities, and it's going to be a grind. We have 5 clients. We're 2 months into this thing. We have 5 clients. We've had inquiries. We've had a ton of people hit us up. Probably 25 or probably 25 people have contacted us. We've gotten 20% of them to commit to being a client. So um, it's something that's going to take time to build. It's going to take effort. It's going to take work, but we're excited for it. And that is currently on the business side of things, a large part of what I've been doing. Um, that's enough for today. We'll talk more about it going forward. Talk more about another PR that I hit in the gym. Disc golf. I'm not even going to talk about it. We'll talk about that later as well. Hope you guys have a great week. Until next time, peace.